All right, welcome back. I mentioned I would add in the chat one last time the link to that sign-in sheet to make sure that we can get everyone's email address and keep you updated about other project details. And I will turn it now over to the breakout room leaders. If you want to offer any quick debrief on what you heard in your room, we have about 5 to 6 minutes left. Maybe start with a call on Jen, maybe to share the Jamboard.
Absolutely, I'd love to, Kayla. Thank you. Let me know when you can see the screen.
Yep, we got it.
Fantastic. So for those of you who are in our first session, you'll notice there's a lot more sticky notes and it's a lot more colorful. We were hearing a lot of, I'll say flooding complaints, but there was an unsurety of, was it sewage? Was it rainwater? We're not really sure. We had water definitely coming up from the floor drains, unsure of what it was. The toilet was gurgling a few times. We had water coming through the walls. We did have moisture on a basement wall, but this resident did not have standing water. Information like that was really helpful for us to pull out. Some of the other information we heard on the flip side, if you want to say outside of the buildings, was that the roads definitely bore the brunt of a lot of the water. There was a lot of flowing water. There was a lot of standing water. It seemed that our storm inlets either had a hard time keeping up, or there weren't enough inlets and they were clogged, or in some instances, water was actually coming up from the stormwater inlet. Definitely some comments about Swift Run. The actual creek itself, two main comments is that it overflowed its banks, which flooded out Packard Road. But that the Swift Run is often cluttered with debris and doesn't allow the water to go into the pipe. So there was a question of, well, what do you do with the debris? There's always so much debris down in the creek. There were some questions about sump pumps. Is the sump pump sized correctly in the resident's home? What happens if the sump pump fails? How do they know if it fails? Is the sump pump big enough? And then some interesting comments about how water acted in the front yard and or backyard. A lot of comments about standing water. Also comments about standing water, but that it drained quickly after the rain events stopped. In many instances where there was moving water or flowing water in the front yard or backyard, it was Swift Run, or it was the area that is over Swift Run, which is underground in pipes. There were a few other comments we had also regarding the possible connection. There's a perception that water main breaks and this flooding or this water in the basement might be connected, and definitely an inquiry on that. I think I've captured everything. I put a lot of little plus signs when I heard repeat comments. So I'm hoping I gathered either validation or certification from residents who are experiencing those things.
Thanks, Jen. Sure. Troy, do you want to share a brief overview of what you heard in your meeting?
Yeah, sure. Oh, thank you, Kayla. Yeah, the plugged inlets, that was something that came up. There's residents that mentioned that they have video that they're happy to share, of the flooding. I told them that'd be great. That's kind of the best type of data we can get. Some people are just frustrated with the flood damage. They feel like the city, the county, FEMA is pointing the fingers at each other, just really looking for assistance and looking for help. There is comment about the map. People's reported something, but they didn't notice their house was shown up on that initial map that we shared. I'll probably stop there. There's a lot of great conversations.
Great. Thanks, Troy. Harry, do you want to share?
Yeah, we had a lot of conversations about, what can be done, what can you do about this, including this study and beyond this study, about the fact that these storms are happening more and more frequently. People that have been there for 47 years or only remember this happening once or twice in the past, and now it's happening more frequently. comments about Pittsfield Village being an important piece of infrastructure itself for the city because it is, one of the longstanding affordable places to live close to places of employment. Questions about the interface between the creek and where it goes underground. They're just in and around the Packard area and just north of there, and the flooding that happened, the surface flooding that happened there between Wino and Pittsfield. Frustration about the claim process, the fact that you can file a claim against the city, but the way it's structurally set up, that's a high bar. But the city and the county did fight for the emergency declaration from FEMA, which helps relieve some of those damages instead of having to have the insurance claim to reimburse the insurance claim when eligible. Lots of questions for us about, great maintenance and scheduling that and making sure that that's something that's done routinely before and after events. And, some talk about whether or not those pipes are sufficiently sized because the pipe under Packard, the crossing itself is bigger than the pipe downstream where the water goes in, which is more of a protection for Packard Road and not indicative of how big the pipe downstream might be undersized compared to Packard Road. Where to submit comments, and Ron answered that in terms of customer service and giving out the project manager's address or email address. Yeah, and a question about private infrastructure we also took.
Great, thank you, Harry. I know we're right at 7:30 and that is our scheduled end time, but we'll try to stay on for another minute or two to allow Robert to share the outcome from the breakout room that you facilitated.
Yeah, thanks, Kayla. I'll be brief. We actually did not have too many comments or questions about the resident survey or the engineering study. So it seems like we're on the right track with those. There was one good comment about maybe asking about the age of the home or the apartment and who the builder was, that possibly a lot of these homes were maybe built with Orangeburg sewer leads, which is an interesting comment. There was one resident who has a very good video from 2009 of some flooding that occurred that they had submitted to City Hall. And we will want to get our hands on that video and see what she had recorded. That sounded like excellent footage. Thank you for that. And then a couple of comments that I thought were interesting, just general comments. One was that this is the only affordable housing area in Ann Arbor. I'm not sure if that's exactly the extent that's true, but that does start to speak to maybe an equity issue. And I thought that was just an interesting comment. And another one that I thought was a great was, what can the residents do right now to help address this issue? Is there anything they can do? And if so, what? I thought that was just a very good question for us to think about and maybe share some information about.
Great, thank you, Robert. And Mackenzie is going to show a final slide that has the contact info for the project manager. I see a hand raised from Councilmember Song, so we'll get to that just 1 minute. And I just want to mention, we do also have this same public meeting planned for next week, September 8th